welcome to 50 Movies in 50 Weeks. I'm your host, Joey Hollywood, and I'm trying to get through all 50 movies in this Mill Creek box set in 50 weeks. The movie I watched today was called Creature from the Haunted Sea. Now, before I turned this movie on, I fully thought I had seen it before. I was like, oh yeah, this is that beach party movie that Roger Corman made. I've seen this multiple times. Movie starts up, it's not familiar at all. Starts off with a cartoon title sequence, very similar to Little Shop of Horrors, not the musical, the original. And I was like, man, I really thought I've seen this before, and I kept thinking like, okay, maybe I'm just misremembering. The beach party stuff's gonna happen soon. Never happens. This is not a parody of those beach party movies with a monster thrown in. This is a parody of stuff like Dragnet and Spy Things. It is directed by Roger Corman. I got that correct. But I've never seen this movie before, and it threw me for a loop for a little bit. It is a comedy. It is a parody of spy movies mainly, and at a lesser degree, kind of like the Creature from the Black Lagoon stuff, but that's like near the very, very end of the movie. I gotta say, this might be the first dud of the year for me, but I don't think it's the first dud for everyone. Because I did a little looking into this movie, and this movie has a pretty vocal and strong cult following. It's one of 3 movies that were made by Roger Corman in a very short amount of time: Little Shop of Horrors, Bucket of Blood, and this one. And I've seen Bucket of Blood, and I've seen Little Shop of Horrors a million times. I haven't seen Bucket of Blood in a long time. That one, I remember that one being funny, but I can't remember too much about it. Little Shop of Horrors, I rewatch every like 3 or 4 years. That one I really enjoy. I like the musical more. This, though, I don't think the funny elements really speak to me. It's a lot of like, it feels like a lot of bad improv. Not in a way where like it's people trying to sabotage each other's improv. It is following the yes and formula. But a lot of it's like, it feels like in-jokes I don't get. And maybe that is what's going on. Maybe the in-jokes, maybe they are in-jokes. But it's a lot of the same jokes too. It's like, oh yeah, they pick up like phones and they have code words and stuff, but the code words are all silly. And a lot of it I'm like, I get it, but I don't find it funny. I think like the one kind of like gag that I think did make me laugh, it was my only laugh of the entire movie, was right at the beginning, because there's like a shoe shine scene, like it opens up with a shoe shine, and then that turns into violence. Like there's just gun violence going on, and one of the guys runs behind a corner and he puts on a comical fake mustache to disguise himself from the people trying to kill him. And it was the only laugh this movie got out of me. It eventually turns into like all these spies and stuff are like looking for some treasure that's under the sea, and I'm not sure how many people are going to be watching this because I know my viewerships are really low. But the older generation is going to get this reference. But the monster in this movie looks like Sigmund the Sea Monster from the old Sid and Marty Krofft TV show. It's funny that he looks that way, but like there's very little gags in the movie with him that are I think are actually funny. There's a scene at the very end where he's picking his teeth with a toothpick. I don't know. The movie just doesn't work for me. I wanted to enjoy it. Once I figured out it wasn't the movie I thought it was, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is a Roger Corman movie I've never seen. But it just, the humor just didn't land with me at any point. The plot just dragged. Every scene, it felt like improv that was going too long. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, the thing I could compare it to the most is that terrible Ghostbusters remake, where like they have those comedy scenes that they're just playing off each other, but they just go on forever. Like the scene that specifically comes to mind is the scene with Chris Hemsworth talking about his dog named Cat, and it just goes on forever. That's like this whole movie, and it just didn't land with me. If you want to watch a Roger Corman comedy, Little Shop of Horrors is so much better. And I recall Bucket of Blood being really good. I would not recommend this personally, but I might be in the minority here. This has a cult fan base that apparently loves this movie, so watch at your own discretion. You may like it more than me, you may not. But that's kind of all I have to say about this movie. I really wanted to talk longer this year about the movies I watched, but gosh, there's just not much to talk about with this one. I didn't enjoy it. When I have less to say, it's usually not a good sign. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Remember, please be kind.